So I just want to do a story time. I'm thinking about an old situation that happened when I was a kid with my parents. So I'm thinking about how when I was about like 8 years old, I remember my parents got into a really bad domestic violence situation. So they had got into it with each other, and my dad and mom was fighting. My dad, he used to be real violent with his baby mamas and women or whatever the case may be. That was the situation. That's what it was. He's not like that anymore. He has changed. He has improved himself. He has given himself over to God, and he has reaffirmed his behaviors of being violent with, women. But ultimately, I remember that is one fight. Like my mom and my dad have been in other little arguments and fights and stuff like that. But that's one fight I will remember. I always remember that fight to the T. I couldn't have been but maybe 7 or 6. I don't even know if I was in school yet. I don't really remember because I know I was so young that when my mom had got arrested and ended up having to go to jail for like 30 days, I remember it was like I wasn't in school. I was like living with my grandma, and I wasn't living with my grandma. we were staying with my grandma for that month, and then she was I was being watched by the neighbor down the street, like an elderly lady. God rest her soul, because I know she's going now, because she was in her 80s when I was a kid. So whatever the case may be, I'm over here thinking about. I always tell my husband, I'll be like, that's the one thing I always remember was one of the worst fights I have ever seen my parents get into, and that's the worst. And I think also that was one of their last fights, because my mom went ape shit. She went crazy. She put my daddy down, and he put her down too. It's like they really, but I don't even know if they realized that behavior that they displayed, not only did it amplify why I'm against domestic violence, but it amplified why I leave toxic situations. When I know that something is not going to work for me and something is going to be bad, I remove myself from it. I think it's best for me to just not be engaged with people who are not truly trying to move forward and I just want to be in negative situations, want to fight and argue. I'm not here for that. I know that I used to be in an argumentative mood, but the domestic violence shit, that's the way I draw the line. Anytime that I've been in a relationship and the person was getting crazy, or I felt like I was getting too crazy, I was like, that's it. I've always drawn the line right there, because I always feel like if you got to put your hands on me and I got to put my hands on you, we don't need to be bothered with each other. We don't need to be associated with each other, because we're not treating each other like we're spouses. We're treating each other like we're enemies in the street. And the way I get down with an enemy in the street is not the way I would get down with my partner. I really just think people don't understand that you have to be careful about some of the people you choose to be in relations with, due to the fact that some people do not have the characteristics to communicate effectively. And what happens is they become adult children who don't know how to use their words or don't know how to have dialogue, and then they like to use physical ways in order to get their way, not realizing that temper tantrum will be the defining moment to why you don't fuck with them no more. And that is one story of domestic violence that I saw with my own eyes as a child that made me always see why I don't have an issue with leaving people alone. I leave people alone because I know how I could get. And I'm not going to go there with people. I'm not going to allow anybody to take me from where I've come from and take me down due to their lack of the ability to grow as a person and be an adult instead of being a man-child. Goodbye.